I was fascinated, I have to tell you, to hear that you had, I think, about 150 constituents turn out in Millburn
Yes.
on Tuesday to hear your take on the Iran deal. I think what's remarkable about that is that oftentimes, and this is not to our country's credit, Americans aren't always tuned in on what's going on overseas. But this issue, for whatever reason, and I'm sure you have some very good ones, the American people seem more engaged than they usually are. Why do you think that is, Congressman?
I think this is the most significant issue regarding foreign affairs of the Obama administration, and I think it will be the most significant vote I will cast during the entire Obama administration regarding an issue related to foreign affairs. And in part, it relates to the fact that Iran is a major power on the world scene, and other nations of great importance were involved in the negotiations. Great Britain, France, Germany, Russia, and China. And this has a tremendous impact on the most sensitive part of the world, really the tinderbox of the world, the Middle East. And of course, it has a direct bearing on a close ally of the United States, Israel, as well as a matter that is of great interest to Arab nations such as Egypt and Saudi Arabia.
It seems to me, and I don't want to oversimplify what is admittedly a very complex issue, but it seems to me that the rationale for the Obama administration agreeing to this deal and pushing this deal is to shore up what is otherwise a pretty shabby legacy. I can't come up with anything else. Partly because, as I understand it, I'm sure you can do a better job of helping us navigate this. Their entire deal is based on the premise that somehow Iran, which has been a belligerent power for longer than I've been alive, is somehow going to police itself in a way that no other belligerent power that's pursued nuclear capabilities ever has. Am I missing something, Congressman, or is my cynicism justified?
Certainly, Iran is one of the leading sponsors of terrorism across the globe, and that has been the case for quite some time. The agreement itself does not relate to Iran's terrorism. It relates to its potential building of a nuclear weapon. But one of the reasons so many of us in Congress are concerned and want a better regime of verification is because of the significant terrorism in which Iran engages, or where Iran uses its funds to help others, such deadly organizations as Hezbollah, for example. And if the agreement goes into effect, funds will be released immediately to the Iranians, at least $100 billion, it is estimated, certainly in that ballpark. The question is whether those funds will be used appropriately to help the Iranian nation, the infrastructure, and the people of Iran, or alternatively, will some of the funds, and perhaps a good deal of the funds, be used for terrorism across the globe.
And I think the president himself said recently, I believe the quote is, Iran has always found a way to fund these efforts. So he's not even denying that there's a real risk here, that the enemies of the United States, the enemies of Israel, will ultimately benefit financially from this deal. One more very remarkable element behind this whole thing. Do you have any sense, Congressman, of whether opponents or maybe skeptics, however you choose to look at it, of this deal are making headway on Capitol Hill? We've all read the reports of how thousands of phone calls, constituent phone calls, are jamming up the lines down there. I'm sure giving plenty of interns a very interesting summer vacation. And we've even read that, Chuck Schumer, for instance, the United States Senate, it may be waffling. And you don't get any more ardent a Democrat than Chuck Schumer. Do you think we're making progress?
I think the fact that we will have a total period of 60 days to consider the agreement, not 30 days, and if the agreement had been struck a week before it was struck, we would have had only 30 days. The fact that we have 60 days to review the agreement, and the fact that members of the Congress in both the House of Representatives and the United States Senate are in our districts or our states across America during August and hearing from constituents, that fact means that momentum is building against the agreement, and it is a high-minded debate, and I was very pleased with the tenor of the town hall meeting that I held in Milburn, in Essex County, here in New Jersey, earlier this week. The public is engaged, more engaged than I have seen on other international issues. I think it's because it's so important. And Democratic colleagues are examining this closely. Congressman Series of Hudson County has come out against it. Congressman Steve Israel of New York, who is high in leadership on the Democratic side of the aisle in the House of Representatives, has come out against it. Congressman Nita Lowey of New York, Congressman Ted Deutsch of Florida. These are Democratic members who have come out against it. There are some Democrats who have come out in favor of it. I would say on the Republican side, our opposition is, if not unanimous, virtually unanimous, based upon what we have read and the briefings we have attended, and also based upon interaction with constituents in our districts across America.
It's encouraging to hear that there are a lot of Democrats, your colleagues on Capitol Hill, that are taking this seriously. They're not looking at it through a partisan lens. They're looking at it through a national security lens. And also that the conversation that's happening in these district town halls has been high-minded. I think that's the word you used. I wish I could say the same for the president, though. And I nearly fell out of my chair the other day, Congressman. And I'm pretty used to this president, as I think are most of us, saying some pretty ridiculously partisan things and inappropriate moments. But when he said the other day that Republicans are making common cause with Iran hardliners by being skeptical of this Iran deal, is there any way that that's constructive, or do you think he should apologize?
I read the text of the president's address at American University, and I thought that it was in some ways extremely unfortunate, and I do not think that it did his cause any good. I wish the president had discussed in a fashion similar to the fashion that constituents of mine discussed the situation at our recent town hall meeting. I wish the president had been more high-minded in his discussion, and I do not want war. And I do not believe war is the alternative. I think we should continue to be at the negotiating table. I am in no way, shape, or form a warmonger. And those who have significant concerns about this agreement want what is in the best interest of the national security of the United States. And I certainly do not want to be likened in any way to those who in Tehran shout, "Death to America." I thought it was very unfortunate on the part of the president. And he has received a good deal of criticism, and the criticism has been across the board, not simply among Republicans. I am familiar with John Kennedy's speech at American University a generation ago, and I thought that was a speech that was high-minded. And although President Obama cited President Kennedy, I thought that President Obama could have done a much better job, and I think over the course of the month of August, there will be a lot of members of the House and a lot of United States senators who will think about this deeply, and I think there is growing concern, and I would hope that both houses of Congress would vote this down when we come back into session after Labor Day.
Very well said, Congressman, particularly your point about John F. Kennedy. The Democrat Party has certainly changed quite a bit in recent history, and not for the better, in my humble opinion. I think we should definitely let everybody know, too, that that's not your last town hall by any means. You have another town hall scheduled for Monday, August 10th. starts at 5:45 at the Montgomery Township Municipal Building in Belle Meade. If you want to be a part of this very important discussion and meet Congressman Lance, who you can tell he's a very knowledgeable guy. He's co-chair of the Israel Caucus in the House. Definitely put that on your calendar and try to make it out there. Before we let you go, though, Congressman, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, because in the midst of this extremely important foreign policy debate over the fate of the Iran deal, we're having our first Republican presidential debate tonight, where we have no less than 17 candidates spread over two separate debate television sessions, one around 5 o'clock. I think the main event is at 9. It's being widely discussed in the media. It's also been widely criticized, both the debate itself and also the process, since it's generating quite a bit of chaos as Republicans try to select their 2016 nominee. Do you think the process this year has been a positive thing? And do you think it's been constructive for the party as we move forward and try to beat Hillary Clinton or whoever the Democrats put up?
If I had been designing the process, I would have done the following. I would have put all of the names of the Republican candidates in a hat, and I think there are 17 names. And then I would have drawn half of those names, either 8 or 9, out of the hat. And those would be the candidates on stage in one debate. And then the 8 or 9 names that remained in the hat, they would be the candidates on stage in a second and equal debate. And I would imagine they would be on subsequent nights at the same time in the evening, perhaps 9 o'clock. In other words, I would not have an adult table and a child's table, as was true when I was a little boy at Thanksgiving dinner. I think all of the candidates could have had an equal footing if there had been two separate debates, making sure they were equal with the same questioners, the same moderator, and that is the way I would have proceeded. And I'm interested in hearing from the 7 candidates who will be in the earlier debate, as well, of course, the 10 candidates who will be on stage at what is being called the main event. I think we have great talent across the board, and what I have said is that on stage in these two debates, we may have not only a future president, but a future vice president, future cabinet secretaries, perhaps Secretary of State, perhaps an Attorney General, Secretary of Health and Human Services, Secretary of Commerce, and I think there is tremendous talent in the Republican Party in the presidential contest of 2016, and it would not be surprising to me that if we are successful in the election a year from now in November, that a team of rivals goes into office, as was true when Abraham Lincoln became president. And so I think we're really witnessing great talent, and not only a potential president, but a potential vice president and cabinet officers as well.
Team of Rivals, a great book and an even better analogy. I couldn't agree with you more. We have a much more diverse and talented bench than the Democrats could hope for this year. That's certainly true. And a final question for you related to the 2016 field. Governor Christie is among those who is going to be in the 10-person debate at 9 o'clock on Thursday night. He has struggled in the polls, but I thought he's said some very constructive things in the past week or so. I really liked his response that he directed to Hillary Clinton, not at the other candidates, but directly to Hillary Clinton on the Planned Parenthood issue and on the issue of her emails and the subsequent investigation. How do you like Governor Christie's chances right now, Congressman, to make an impact in this race, start polling a little bit better, and maybe be a serious challenger by the time the New Hampshire primary rolls around in just a few short months?
I think that he will do very well. He is always well prepared in the debate forum, and he has put forth substantive proposals, and I agree with you completely on his recent comments regarding Hillary Clinton. New Hampshire is a retail politics state. It is a state where the residents expect to see their presidential candidates in a town hall setting. Governor Christie is at his best in a town hall setting, and I know he will be campaigning heavily in New Hampshire, and I predict that he will do better at the debate this evening than where he might be at the moment in the polls, and I think he has an excellent chance of doing very well in New Hampshire, given the fact that really his best venue is the town hall setting, and that is what the people of New Hampshire expect.
Congressman, insightful, intelligent gentleman as always, with your responses and your willingness to take a little bit time to talk to the Save Jersey audience out there and let us know what's going on 2015, 2016 and beyond. And as always, as the Iran deal continues to be debated and as the 2016 battle royal continues, I hope you'll check back in with us and give us an update.